Hello, you are tuning in to the Capsule in Conversation podcast, dedicated to women and their well-being. I'm Natalie Anderson, and today I'm joined by actor, life coach and entrepreneur Gemma Merna to talk finding authenticity, braving the career pivot and building community. So sit back, relax and get ready to join us in our conversation. Hello all, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've all had a great week. My lovely guest today is a hugely familiar face and a lady of many talents. An award-winning actress, she has appeared in Doctors and Sky's hit comedy Brassic, but is most notably recognised for her iconic portrayal of Carmel McQueen in Hollyoaks, a role which she played for 8 years, gaining her numerous accolades and acclaim. Alongside her acting work, she is a passionate yoga teacher and in more recent years has built the hugely successful wellbeing brand Mind and Wellness, a 360 approach to health and wellbeing that encompasses online workouts and workshops, in-person retreats, and an aligning podcast for its members. She is passionate about empowering women, and as an accredited life coach and hypnotherapy coach, she is on a mission to help women take control of their mental health and well-being. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome her today. It is the gorgeous Gemma Merna. Hi, Gemma.
Hi, and what an intro. Thank you so much.
Do you feel really good about yourself now?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm like, I've done quite a bit in my life, haven't I?
Good. That's how we always like to start this podcast, making our guest feel like, yeah, actually, I'm really good.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't do that for ourselves, do we? So yeah, no, but thank you so much. And thank you for asking me to come on as well. It's an honour.
Oh no, honestly, it's so lovely to have you on here, because I know obviously you've had such a journey with well-being and wellness and obviously being in the public eye as well. I can relate to kind of what that feels like and making that transition, and if it even is a transition or are you straddling both worlds, it's quite a journey. But if we go back to the very beginning, I know you studied acting and musical theatre. So just tell me kind of growing up, like what was it that made you want to be a performer?
So, I started off singing. So I was kind of singing in like the school choir, and it was one of my best friend at school. My mum was best friends with her mum, and she said, "Oh, Gemma can sing." And my mum was like, "Do you think?" So that's kind of how it started. And my mum started taking singing lessons. And then I was doing dancing. And then my brother was more of the actor. He's a, fantastic actor. And I started to go to classes like, a little bit younger than him, but in like the same drama schools and things like that. But I always struggled with acting. I always struggled with confidence, the same with singing. And my nerves always got in the way. Like I loved doing it. But when I was younger, when I look back, I was always terribly nervous. Like before performing, I couldn't eat all day. I'd be shaking. And my mum was like my support blanket. Do you know what I mean? To kind of, you can do this. And I kind of really always needed like that external validation to do the job. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that I feel like I've been able to help myself with the work I do now. So yeah, but from a young age, it was kind of singing. I always loved singing, love musical theatre, absolutely loved it. I did that at college. And then I was just like, you know what, I want to try some TV acting. So then I went to Manchester School of Acting, Mark Hudson. He was like my head of year, and then he opened his own school. And that's how it kind of started. When I left college, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go and get a job. I couldn't really afford to go to university. I didn't really have the confidence to audition as well, I don't think, you know what I mean, for it. So I went and got a job, and then I went and started doing just classes like every single week there. And then the opportunity of Hollyoaks came up. So yeah.
I mean, and that's incredible. I mean, Mark's school is brilliant and has bred some incredible actors, and people that go back and, revisit his classes all the time just to kind of as keep refreshed, really.
I did that when I left the show. I kept going back just to kind of It's so good just to get with other actors and stand up and run a different piece, especially when you played a character for so long.
For so long, exactly, yeah, and just to keep that muscle, like you say, kind of keep learning and kind of keep on top of your keep on your toes. And then obviously you did land that role of Carmel and made her into this incredible character, and
Thank
8 years, it is a long time on the show. What were some of your kind of highlights, and what did you learn as well during that experience?
Oh, everything. I learned how to act. I learned like where to stand with the camera, the lighting. Like, with Emmerdale, you learn so much on a soap. Like, one day you could be going in and going, right, okay, you've got 4 scenes and you've prepped them all. And then they can go, oh, actually, we've made an amends on them. And also, you've got another 2 scenes now from a block that's like 6 weeks in advance. So you're always jumping so much. And I remember when I first went there and I was like, oh, it's so much. And I remember Nick Pickard saying to me, because I think I had like a day of like all scenes, like with him, 8 scenes back to back. And he just said to me, and it always stays in my mind, just take it one scene at a time. And I think that really relates to life with like people when they get anxious or anxiety, which I have suffered with. We're always looking ahead. We're like, oh, if we might be able to do that. Can we do that? But actually just take it one step at a time. And honestly, I took those words like as gospel from him because it really helped. But yeah, being at Hollyoaks, I learned how to act, how to create a character, how to act with other actors and give them the time and support them as well. Like, you've got to support your fellow actors and love them and allow them to have play as well. Work with the cameras, the lighting, directors, producers, writers. I look
and
back
it is
and
ever
think,
changing, isn't it? It's always evolving. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like going onto a film or a drama even where you've got your set team. You do in a way, but it is ever changing, and a new producer comes in and then they want to put their stamp on it, and then
Yes.
you think you found your way with the character, and then suddenly it's like, we've decided to go this way with it. And you've got to be really adaptable, don't you?
Yeah, that's one thing. You've got to be really adaptable. You've got to not be too set in stone with your choices as well as an actor. You know what I mean? You can prep, but you prep well enough that you can forget it as well. And you can just like be on your toes on the day and take it somewhere else. Like, you don't own it so much. You know what I mean? Don't say, I'm going to do this on this line and then I'm going to move here, or I'm going to say it this way. It's a really good lesson as an actor to just kind of just be free as well. I think that's a really nice way to work as well. Like instinct. I love working with instinct. And I think it allows you.
As someone that is that has suffered with anxiety, that need for control, do you find that that's the only time that you relinquish control is when you're in the scene?
Well, I think that's the thing that I've learned recently, like kind of getting back into acting and doing more stuff. That is one thing that is like my intention is let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, let go. Don't own it. Don't control it so much, because I think when I do control it as an actor, my work's not as good. I'm not listening to the other person. I'm thinking, oh, I need to do this. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, you're in your own head.
In your own head. Is acting's all about conversation, like what we're having now. So it's kind of, it's thinking of those things. But also when you're on TV, if you overlap or if you move your arms around and then they go on the next shot, oh, Gemma did this at this point and that, and then you're like, oh my goodness, why did I move my hands? Why did I use that prop? So you know what I mean? You've got to be aware of all that type of thing. But yeah, it's just nicer to be in the moment and just play with it.
And it is a gorgeous bunch at Hollyoaks. I was there for a year and I loved it, and I loved working with everyone. They were so lovely. As a character, what did you find kind of most interesting with Carmel? Because she took a lot of twists and turns. That she went through so many different things. What were your highlights with her?
So Carmel was brought in because they didn't have her as a character. Like they had this idea for the McQueens. We went to an open audition and they didn't have Carmel. I dressed up as her and went in, and my inspiration was Raquel from Coronation Street. Like that was my like inspiration to bring her. And then they were like, okay, we want to write this character in. I remember Brian Kirk was saying as soon as he seen me in that room, he was like, she needs to be in the show, this character. But I had to go through like 7 auditions to get in, like over 6 months as well. I had to go in and play comedy. I had to go in with no makeup on and play it down, because I think they were a bit worried if I was just a one-trick pony and I'd only be able to do the comedy. So I think once they knew that they could kind of throw more things at me as well. So yeah, I went in comedy. And then I think it was the turning point where I think a boyfriend that she had at the time just left, and they stripped all my makeup off, and she lost it in the house, chucked everything, cried. And I think that was a really good turning point for her. And also me, because I think, the big moments there when they're like, okay, we're trusting you with this. It's so different from what you've done before. You've got to get it right. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of pressure, because if you don't get it right, you don't get those storylines again. So I think those were the moments. And I think my favorite thing for her was when she became a PTSO, and with the high vis, I just found it hilarious. And every person I worked against, especially if they were quite serious characters, and I was, PCSO Carmel, like they just couldn't keep a straight face. And then I'd, play it up even more. So yeah. And then especially when she got with Calvin, and me and Ricky just was such the best friends. So I think that storyline was a wonderful storyline. And when he got shot in the flash forward episode, like we just got married, we're doing the Dirty Dancing dance, and he got shot. That is a big memorable moment, because it was just it was huge back then. Like you look back now, it's so different into for soaps now, and we have social media and stuff. We didn't even have social media really back then, so it was just like such a big storyline.
And I think, as you said, those are the moments that stick with the viewers. And those are the moments that the viewers really invest in. And as you said then, in your head, your inspiration was Raquel from Corrie. And I know I had a similar thing with that character, with Raquel. I grew up with her. She was so memorable to me. And our soap characters, particularly for our generation, were so huge in that they told us things and they taught us lessons. And the power of the soap, was so huge for it to be in your living room. And I mean, when you eventually decided to say goodbye to that character, was that difficult in the sense that the viewers and the public do feel like they own you a little bit? And then when you step out into the street being just Gemma, that transition and actually being yourself and not being the character, did you find that transition difficult?
Yes, and I feel like that's also one of the reasons why I had to go as well. Like I felt like I was growing as a person. I hit 30. I was really growing as a person. And I do think I always had in my head, like Raquel, like Sarah Lancashire only stayed for so long, and she went. And then again, that's why, because she's so iconic in that character. So I think I always kind of had it in my head. But when you're there, it is such a gorgeous place. As you want to be there forever and it'd be easy. But, Hollyoaks is a really young soap. So to grow old with a character, it's hard. You have to be like a certain character. So I think, I think I was on a massive needed to kind of discover myself. I just lost my dad. He passed away. And I was like, I need to kind of get out there and see what else I can do, who I am, number one, because I didn't know that. I was 22 when I joined, and my identity was so wrapped around, being Carmel and being in Hollyoaks. I didn't know who I was without it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that transition to kind of, for people to kind of see me now as Gemma, it's actually really, really nice. It was really scary, because I think it's so scary showing you. When you're an actor and you play a character, you can hide behind that character. But then when you've got to show you, whatever comes back at you, it's you, isn't it? So you
Yeah.
can, it can be really hard.
That is a question I was going to ask you a little bit later on, actually. Is what I found very difficult was, especially building a business. Building a business, you kind of have to be very front facing because you are the business. And as an actor, and especially certain kinds of actors, you're kind of told really to not be anybody because you need to fit into so many different roles. So to have that, again, like I said, that kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot in the other place is difficult to know how to be yourself and to feel fully comfortable in being that version of you. It is quite a tricky thing to do, isn't it? I mean, how have you found it, like building a business and, being Gemma, the founder of Mind and Wellness? How has that been for you?
Tough. Because as soon as I got on camera, I just become Carmel. It was like a muscle memory. So anything I did, I was like, "Hi guys," and I was like, "That's not me." But again, that transition, because like you said, you're used to playing these characters, and this is why, like with the coaching work I do, and I've done a lot around identity myself, especially actors. I don't think. Well, I can only speak for myself. Like I said before, I didn't know who I actually was. And it might sound really bizarre, for me to say that, but I was so young and still discovering myself. And then I had this full-time job playing somebody else. And if you think you're playing them for 70 hours a week, you merge into that person. Like, as much as you can say, "Oh, I'm not a method actor," I think you still merge into them. You know what I mean? You take on the traits and these traits from you in there, and then you end up playing that. And I think, I think at first I found it really difficult, but I kind of worked on every time I did a video or put something on socials and kind of created Mind and Wellness, I was me. And then also when I built my community, we'd be doing our courses or our yoga, and I would show up with in my pajamas and no makeup on and be me. And then I was like, well, this is who I am and this is what they connect with. So then that's why I do show that more now on social instead of being the polished version. Do you know what I mean? Because I think as well as actors, and we kind of do that, don't we? Like, we've got to get ready and we've got to get in character. You know what I mean? For anything that
got to get
do.
prepped.
Yeah. It's like, again, the control thing. We control everything in our lives. So yeah, I think I did find it really hard, but I think all the coaching work that I've had helped me with that.
And what made you go down that avenue? Obviously, you were teaching yoga anyway, and you've practiced yoga for a really long time, like 20 years. And, what was it that you thought, actually, life coaching, that's something I'm really interested in?
So I've always been really good with people and having conversations and getting under the layers and, getting to your deep, darkest secrets. I've always loved that with people. I'd always sit and chat, and very much a people person. And I got asked to go on a podcast by Jill Ritchie, who's a life coach as well. And I think it was the first time that I kind of started to open up a little bit about my career, my life. And I felt like I was just ready a little bit to talk about my life. And I said to her, I'd love to do what you do. And she said, I think you'd be really good. So then she put me in contact with somebody who was doing the qualification she did hers with, Alistair Gray and the team at Mindful Talent. And I just went on this journey to become a life coach and just to see what it was about. And it was just the best thing I ever did, because I was like, because it made me, I've always done the qualifications to learn more about myself first. And then I'd decide if I was going to do it or not. You know what I mean? If I was going to work with people. But everything I've done with qualifications, I do it more for me. First of all, to try it out to see if I get anything from it. And if I get something from it, and that's when I go, okay, this can be shared. The same with hypnotherapy. I've had a lot of hypnotherapy and it released a lot for me of the anxiety and going through grief with my dad. And I knew how much it helped me, and I really wanted to help more people with that as well and get it out there, because everybody doesn't understand what hypnotherapy is.
Yeah, it can seem a little scary, can't it? You know, people, all you ever think of is people like, you know, watching things on Britain's Got Talent or people being
Yeah.
chickens or things like that. And you're
Yeah.
like, actually, it's a really serious thing that I'm coming to you with, you know, especially if you do have serious phobias or, like you were saying before, grief that you need to deal with. There is that kind of element that is a little bit fearful. You need to really trust somebody, you know, and building that trust is difficult. And I just wonder, you know, in terms of kind of, again, having this plan B, so to speak, you know, is that like having the side hustle? We know as freelance actors, you know, the work is you take it and it comes and then you think, oh my God, what's next? And then it's important to build something else that you're passionate about, isn't it? And it's important to have that other thing that makes you feel, like we've just said, like you. Do you feel like when you're doing that, you are kind of the most authentic version of yourself?
Yeah, massively. And like you're saying, the plan B, to me, it's not a plan B. It's like my
Yeah.
sole purpose. It's
Yeah.
like I've always probably meant to do this. It's just I went down the avenue of acting first. You know what I mean? And I think I always meant to do this. And I kind of look at it in a different way now. Like, this is what I am meant to do. And if an acting job comes along and it's right and it fits with my life and it gives me joy, I will do it. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know what it is with me in my life. I could never again just stick to one job. I find it just quite boring. I'm like, I have to be doing something different every single day. And it just feels fantastic. You know what I mean?
100%. And you can tell it really comes through, like with all your socials and your retreats and everything. Again, it is a very genuine passion. Some people will put their name to something and not see it through necessarily, because once the hard work kicks in, and it is hard work running a business, you know, it's very difficult. It's like, oh, I didn't really sign up for this. You do have to have that real passion. We had Liz Earle on a couple of seasons ago, and she said to me, Natalie, you've got to have passion and purpose. And if you don't have those two things in whatever it is you're doing, don't do it. You know, and I think that really comes across very much with you, that it is your passion and it is your purpose, because it takes a lot to build a business. And I mean, how has that been for you, like navigating the world of business?
Yeah, because I knew nothing about business. All I knew what to do was to learn lines and say them or learn a song and sing it. Like, that's all I ever really knew how to do. So running a business for me was like, okay, where do I start? But I think the best learning that I've had is just by doing it, like feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I think through what I've learned with coaching and hypnotherapy, I kind of run my business in like, what would my future self in 6 months' time? What decision would she make now? And that's how I run everything. So that decision that I might have to make then, I might have to really invest a lot of money into something to get me to that future version. Where at the time I'm like, oh my God, this is scary. But I go, no, just trust it, because that will get me there. And that's how I kind of ran it for the past year. Like, Mind and Well's been going for 2 years in March. And yeah, that's how I've kind of been running it for the past year. And it seems to be, that's where I kind of can make bigger leaps with it. So yeah, but
And
it's hard.
yeah, it is hard. And in terms of kind of, you know, the actual platform itself, because you've described it as like a gym membership for the mind,
Yes.
initially. And I know obviously you've got other tangents with it as well. But
Yeah.
so just tell me about kind of where that concept came from.
So I found there were so many platforms that people would just go, oh, go for a workout. It makes your mind feel better after you've done the workout. But there's also people out there who are scared of doing a workout or scared of yoga or meditation. So I kind of built it around the meditation and yoga. So you can learn how to meditate, because the amount of people that go to me, oh, I can't meditate, my mind's too busy. And I'm like, you can meditate. And there was so much out there where it's like an hour meditation, you know, with gongs and stuff like that. And that is going to put people off. Yeah. So I built it so it would, like, you would start off with a 1 minute meditation, then a 2 minute, then a 3 minute, then a 5 minute, then up to 10 minutes. And I always remember one of my clients said, when she started to meditate on the platform, because the pre-records as well as lives with me, but the pre-records they'd do at home. And when I'd disappear and there'd be music in the meditation, they'd be like, where's she gone? I need Gemma back, like your voice. But then if you keep doing it and do it daily, after a couple of months, she was like, oh, I was fine. And now I can have that space for me doing the visualization to kind of just having music or nothing. And then they learn then how to meditate even on their own in places, because I work with them on that. And especially yoga as well. I noticed when I started to do it, it's a really intimidating place. If you go into a studio and you've got an hour yoga class and they just stick to a sequence like Ashtanga or Vinyasa, it is very intimidating and you won't go back because you're like, I can't keep up with all these. So I wanted to build something that, like, I feel anyone can meditate and anyone can do yoga and get a lovely little, I'm looking at my mat here in my studio, and have a little space in your house. And again, the small bite-size videos, and you can fit them in every single day into your day. If that's a 10-minute AM yoga, 10-minute PM yoga, if that's yoga for runners, you know, all those sorts of things. And the more you do it, then you notice the benefits. So that's kind of how it started off, because I felt like there was nothing that had both and that really pushed meditation. And the amount of people that were like, oh, I don't like meditation. I'm like, well, it changed my life. So if it can change my life, I know it can change anybody else's. So that's how we started off and built up. So strengthen your mind first, and then your body. Instead of your body, then your mind. So that's the way around I wanted to kind of work on it.
And from there, obviously, you know, you've got your newsletter, you now do retreats, and your retreats look absolutely amazing. And I'm gutted because I wanted to come to the next one and I can't because I'm away, and they look absolutely incredible. I mean, so was that kind of the natural next step for you? Was obviously you built a client base, was like, right, let's get out in front of the people.
Yeah, so I wanted to do it last year. Not last year, the year before. And all my members was like, can we have a retreat? Can we have a retreat? And the fear kind of got in the way. And I just kind of just kept pushing it to one side. And I knew where I wanted to do it, where we got them now. So last year, it was actually because I bring brands on board as well. So we have like a little wellness shopping experience, because I just kind of love that. And it was a friend of mine who's got a brand, and she was like, you're on my vision board to do a retreat with you. And I was just like,
that's so cool.
I know. So I just went, you know what? Oh, we have 6 weeks to go to the date. I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to put it out there. And whoever comes. And who doesn't? And the first fear, I was like, what if no one books on? And I share this with my members and people there. And they were like, did you feel like that? I said, yeah, I was like, what if no one books on? What am I going to do? But I thought, well, whatever happens, I'll just roll with it. And we sold out. And yeah, I've not looked back. It's just amazing.
Do you think that success, though, comes again from your real authenticity and being genuine and relating? And like you said, you know, kind of stripping back from the character person, the version of you, the polished version, to being that really kind of relatable person that shows them that there are flaws and that there are nerves and that there's anxieties. Do you think that's what's helped your success with building your community?
Yeah, I do. And I think, and you will know this in the public eye, like back in the day, how much did we have to polish ourselves up, especially for a red carpet? You couldn't even have your hair out of place because they'd make a comment on it.
Be murdered for it.
Yeah, you'd be put in those magazines and just slated. So I think I'd kind of moved so far away from my authentic self by trying to make everyone happy in that world, that I forgot that I am flawed. I am messy. I'm not perfect at all. I do suffer with anxiety. I do have negative thoughts, but I thought, you know what, if I can share this, because if someone had shared this with me when I was at my worst, and no one did, everyone was like, no, I'm fine. Because I didn't really know what anxiety was. Do you know what I mean? Back then when it was at the worst. But I thought, if I can share this with other people, I might be able to help somebody. And I did kind of make that little promise. If I can work this out and make my way through this, I am going to share this to help others. And that's kind of where it came from, sharing. And it's really scary for me to share my insecurities, really, you know, my vulnerability. But I think if we can share our vulnerability, that's strength for us. It's like we're owning it as well.
And again, having that person where that it's almost like in the class that says, I didn't understand that, miss. And then there's like 5 people behind going, me neither. I didn't.
Yes.
Sometimes it just takes that one person to kind of put the spotlight on something to help others feel included and to not feel weird, you know. And like you said just then, the conversation around anxiety wasn't what it is now. I remember myself horrendously suffering and never talking about it for fear of, oh my God, you know, people think I'd be unprofessional or whatever. And now I don't care now.
Like I felt like that. And I feel like that's probably why I stepped away as well from acting, because I thought, oh my God, if someone finds out that I'm really struggling this bad, I won't get a job or they won't want to keep me. So I might as well just go anyway. You know what I mean? So because we know like it's not like that now, but back then it's like if he wasn't professional, if he wasn't tough, that's how I felt. Like I had to be tough to be in that world. And I, you know, when I lost my dad, I wasn't tough anymore. I couldn't keep that armor up. I was broken. So I kind of was like, I need to step away and heal and figure this out, where I think we're really lucky now that we can talk about it more. And there is so much more help out there.
100%. And that's what's important really about kind of building a community where you can empower others, is that you can pass that on, because like you said, there is actually a lot of strength in softness and a lot of strength in vulnerability. And when you've been conditioned a certain way for many, many years, it's very difficult to kind of unlearn that, isn't it? And it's, you know, to kind of, what are the things that, you know, people have come to you with and said, you know, what do you see in kind of your professional experience as being some of the biggest concerns for people?
Stress and anxiety and overwhelm is the biggest things. With women, the job and keeping the life going as well. Like they end up, or if they're a mum, they end up kind of losing parts of themselves and putting themselves at the bottom of the list. And it is a conditioning. It is something that has gone on for generations. And it's the programs that we run on. And when I say programs, it's kind of the language that we use in hypnotherapy, because between 1 and 7, we learn our programs and they run in the subconscious mind. And we learn them from our parents, from our teachers, from our grandparents. And when we look back at society, women always put their family first and put themselves at the bottom of the list. As long as their kids were fine, their husband were fine, they would go without food. They would go without looking after themselves. They'd go without sleep. Now, what I try and teach at Mind and Wellness is we need to put ourselves first on the list. I know it might feel uncomfortable, but when we look after ourselves, and if that is getting up 10 minutes early and doing our meditation or doing our yoga practice or saying our affirmations or going out in nature for a walk or even just having a cup of coffee before the house wakes up. You know, if we look after ourselves first, we're a better version of ourselves and we give so much more to our families and our friends.
And there's the thing as well, I think, that you have to kind of start getting comfortable, or initially finding comfort in some kind of discomfort, if you know what I mean. It's like you have to experience that discomfort to kind of go, right, okay, I understand what this is, and now I can build my boundaries as well. And I can go, actually, I need to put some really good boundaries in place to make sure that I do keep being the best version of myself. But that is tricky to do. And like you've just said then, for women, it's a very difficult thing to do, is to have those boundaries and to say no, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And boundaries, again, is a big thing we talk about at Mind and Wellness. It can feel really uncomfortable at first, but once you do put them in place and then you're feeling better and you have them better relationships with people when you have strong boundaries, like the relationship flourishes so much better because you're not feeling resentment towards anybody because you're doing stuff and you feel burnt out. And So boundaries is a massive thing. And that can be also, you know, in your working space. It can be family. It can be with yourself as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like your boundary, like every day I am going to move my body. You know, I am going to, you know, habits, you know, eat good food because I know it helps me. I'm going to read for 20 minutes because I know that's something I really enjoy doing. You know, but how many people go, oh, I don't read anymore because I don't have time. You
Yeah.
know, is that sort of stuff. And it can just be simple. So we try and create like boundaries and also create habits that are going to serve you.
And you know, you took part in Fern Cotton's Happy Place Festival this year. Was that just absolutely amazing?
Honestly, it was a dream on my vision board from when she started it. And then when I got the opportunity, I was just like, amazing. But actually being there, what she has created, the energy, the people, it is something else. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. So yeah.
And would you like to do something like eventually, you know, as you grow your business in that kind of capacity with Mind and Wellness?
Yeah, I'd love to. I really would. Because with Mind and Wellness, you know, like I said, we started off kind of more meditation, yoga. Now we've got sound healing, we've got affirmations, we've got, you know, we're bringing in sleep stories, we're bringing in strength. You know, there's so many of it, hypnotherapy, coaching. There's so much that is there for us to build such an incredible life for ourselves. You can dip into things. So yeah, I'd love to do it on a bigger scale. Like that's what the retreats were kind of a little taster because it's a day. So we'll start off with yoga and meditation. Then we move on to coaching. And that was the one thing that people got so much out of the November retreat was the hour of coaching, which was for empowerment. So we look at the next 3 to 6 months of our life. How do we want to feel? How do we want to show up for ourselves? What are the goals that we want to do? But most importantly, it's what we feel inside. It's the internal dialogue. So a lot of people got a lot out of coaching because coaching's huge in America, but it's not as big over here. Like still people are getting used to it. And everyone was like, oh my God, it's incredible. And all the things people had put as goals in November have already started to achieve them by now. And then they're coming back in March. So
And
yeah,
how does that
amazing.
make you feel? Like you're responsible for that. Like you set that ball rolling. Like you as a person, how does that make you feel?
Oh, you know what? I always say I can't take credit for any of it because they're doing it. Like they're showing up, they booked the ticket, they're putting the time into themselves. But helping people is just the most incredible feeling in the world. Know it, like seeing somebody's life flourish and change within like 3 6 months from riddled with anxiety and couldn't leave the house to starting new jobs and flourishing happy. Even like the skin's completely different, the hair's different, that you can see the smiling from the inside out. And that's what I want people to do is be happy on the inside and let that flourish out. So yeah, the coaching is very powerful. And then towards the end of it, we do hypnotherapy. So then I'll take people into a visualization hypnotherapy, visualize that version of them in that 6 months time. And then we finish off with a sound bath. So yeah, it is gorgeous.
And but you know, going back to kind of you as an individual and like you and what your you know, like in terms of self-worth and confidence, like you said right at the very beginning, you know, I wasn't very confident. I was riddled with anxiety. You know, when you look at this person that is here today in 2024, how do you feel about her?
I'm really proud of her because she's really had to step out of her comfort zone, step out of her own way. And yeah, and I'm very, very, very proud because I have like a shadow of not feeling good enough. That is just something that always goes around in my subconscious mind. And once I have become aware of, I have this narrative of not being good enough. Once I kind of know that's there, but feel the fear and do it anyway, that is when I make so much more impact in my life and other people's lives as well. So yeah, I am just super, super proud of her. Yeah.
Good, you should be as well. And, just before we kind of finish up, when you do have those moments, when you do have those, and you can feel it coming in your chest. And we all, like, people that listen to this podcast totally know this feeling where it's in your chest and you're like, oh my God. What are the things that you go to that work for you kind of straight away or over time? What are those practices?
So mine is getting still and meditating, because when we meditate and we go inwards, that's when the answers come out. And then I journal after that. So a lot of my techniques that I use, it's very closed-eyed work, hand on heart, like really connecting to your intuition. So that's my go-to. Journal, and then getting outside in nature with my dogs and going for gorgeous, gorgeous walks, just to clear that energy. And that's how I teach my yoga as well now. So if I've got any stored energy, very somatic, release that energy that you don't want out of your body. And sometimes that can be crying and laying it out emotionally as well. But knowing that, I think once you're aware of the narrative that you're saying to yourself, because sometimes we're not aware of it because it's just going on in the subconscious. But when we're aware of it, it doesn't have power over us. Then we can make that choice of how we want to step forward with our life.
And what's next for you in terms of like your future ambitions? Because I can tell there's a lot going on there. So what is next for you?
Keep growing Mind and Wellness, and our podcast, and have amazing conversations with people, and keep growing and just welcoming more people in, because it does change people's lives. The amount of people that have started in the membership a couple months in and gone, this is just incredible. So keep growing that. I'm looking to bring in another level of membership as well, to bring more things in. The retreat, working with people more with coaching, hypnotherapy. And I'd love to step back into acting as this new version of me, feeling fully confident within as well. So I feel it's time.
Oh, it's definitely time. And I just feel, I'm looking at you and I'm like, oh yes, it's such a lovely, it's been such a lovely conversation with you to see, like when we started right at the very beginning and you talked to me about kind of how you started off singing and you weren't very confident, and, looking at your journey and what you've gone through, and just this, it seems to be this like need for learning, and how you enjoy learning and what you have learned, and now being able to pass that on is such an incredible thing. So thank you so much for being with us and for sharing all of your journey with us today. It's been amazing.
Thank you for having me. I've just loved it. And you know what? It's nice just to chat through it, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see how far we've come. And what I've done, anyone can do it as well. It's about us believing in ourselves. I think that's the main thing. Once we believe in ourselves, our world's the oyster. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we can just do anything.
Well, guys, you've heard it from Gemma there. We've sadly run out of time for today, but thank you, Gemma, for being with me.
Thank you.
I hope you guys at home have enjoyed being with us as well. For more from Gemma, you can follow her on Instagram at Gemma Merna, where you can also follow the Mind and Wellness page at Mind and Wellness UK. To visit the website, head to www.mindandwellness.co.uk. You can get everything there. You can find out more about Gemma, how to join the membership, how to get onto the retreats. So head over there, guys. For more wellbeing and lifestyle from us, you can visit us at our website, www.thecapsule.co.uk, where you can also catch up with our previous podcast episodes by streaming from any of our podcast channels and YouTube. As always, feel free to leave your rates, reviews, messages. I do love hearing from you. It's been lovely to hear from you as this series has gone on. You can also drop us a message at our Instagram at Official Capsule if you'd like to put any questions to me, to a future guest, or anything that we've got going on. So please just keep in touch with us there. I will be back next week with another very special guest. So all that's left for us to say today is goodbye. So it's goodbye from Gemma.
See you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And goodbye from me.